it. All right, we are officially calling the Fish and Game Commission meeting of June 3rd to order. It is 3:10 p.m. and so far we have Commissioner Newman, Commissioner Madigan, Commissioner Van, and Commissioner Pelland. Please correct me if I can't say your name correctly. I'm Adrienne Thompson, Planning and Building Services, the Administrative Services Manager. Currently, I'll just give you a brief run through. The Fish and Game Commission does not have a secretary on contract. We are calling this meeting to discuss changing the bylaws so that a commissioner could act as secretary and not delay any of your work or any of your meetings in the future. So I believe most of you have received the order of agenda, and the first thing we need to do is have a nomination for a chair and a vice chair. So I will open the floor for a nomination of a chair and a vice chair.
I would nominate Randy Van to be chair. Randy, you're also on mute, so if you say anything, we can't hear you.
Hey, this is Tracy. There you are. Okay, good.
Hey, Tracy.
There he is.
Hi,
Randy, we can't hear you. Speak up.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to connect or not, so I sent Tracy Peller an email, and I actually nominated Anna Newman for chair and Red Hawk Pallison for vice chair. I've been the chairman now, I think, for 3 terms, so I'm ready to step down and pass the torch to our vice chairman, and who has been acting chair for me while I was getting my reappointment worked out. So that's my 2 nominations.
Do we have a second for either Randy Van to be chair or Anna Newman to be chair? We still have to have a second.
This is
I
Patty. I'll
second.
second it.
Okay.
I'll second both of them if that's allowed.
Can't have 2 chairs. Either Commissioner Van or Commissioner Newman is chair. Which one would you like to?
I'm more than happy to take the chair position from Randy with Red Hawk as a second. So don't worry about putting me on the spot. I'm okay with it.
Okay, cool. Then it would be Newman
All right.
with Red Hawk as the vice chair.
All right. All those in
Yes.
favor? Go ahead.
Favor.
All those in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Chair Newman, you are now officially in charge of the meeting. I pass you the gavel to go through. I'm here if you have any questions, but now I'm just your planning and building bystander if you have any questions.
All right, cool. So I suppose we just move straight through onto the agenda. So item 3 would be public expression. If there are members of the public out there watching, we do urge you to write in for anything that you would need. PBS commissions at mendocino.org. We'll be checking that email, as well as the Mendocino Fish and Game Commission email. If you have any public comments through the meeting or comments in general, we would of course love to hear them.
At this time, we've received no comments, so feel free to move on to item 4 and we can check toward the close of the meeting also.
Okay. So approval of minutes from the last meeting. There are none at this time. I believe our last meeting was July of 2019. So then right on to item number 5, the shining star of why we're all here. Discussion and possible action to propose amendments to the Fish and Game Commission bylaws to allow for a commissioner to act as secretary and to follow the proposed amendments to the bylaws to the Mendocino County Board of Supervisors for approval. So I am looking to change the bylaw that notes that we cannot have commissioner act as secretary. So I believe it's pursuant to section 2.02 of the commission's existing bylaws, that a commissioner cannot be secretary. We would like to amend this to allow a commissioner to act as secretary, but not receive any compensation for serving. So it would be a voluntary position.
And
So
then I'll
that's
just,
our proposal.
yeah, and then I'll just tag on for formality for you there of process. Once the commission discusses this and comes forward with a motion, Planning and Building would sponsor an item to the Board of Supervisors to amend those bylaws. We would bring it back here for another organizational meeting where, much like this one, you would open the floor for a nomination of secretary and take a first and a second on that motion. So we're a couple meetings out potentially from selecting that secretary, but this is the start for you to discuss and then move forward with a motion for us to propose to the board.
I have a question. Can I ask a question? This is Tracy Peller. Would we be able to take those funds that would normally pay for a secretary and put them towards a grant or something? Could you ask, or do you want to just keep it in a fund, or is this the time to ask that?
It comes from your overall budget. It's just that the Fish and Game has X amount of budget dollars that have historically been given to a contract. That contract amount hasn't changed to my knowledge since 2013 when I took over the Fish and Game Commission. I don't know if you could put it toward granting, since it's one allotment as a budget. I assume you could take that $7,000 and put it into a grant for future use to a person.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
So is anyone interested in making the motion to change the bylaws to allow this commission member to act as secretary, given the benefit?
I'd like to make a motion to make that happen. We could have one of our commissioners be acting secretary.
This is Patty. I second that motion.
And just to clarify for the motion, are all commissioners amendable to the strikeout version on the memo? Did you all see how staff was proposing that rewrite?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. All those in favor of Commissioner Van's motion?
Aye.
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 And Chair Newman?
Aye.
All right. There's 5. I will try and get these changes. I'm going to work with County Council and hopefully get them on the Boards of Supervisors. Next meeting is July 14th. So I'm hoping to be on that meeting. We should have plenty of time to prep a memo through County Council and get a sponsorship through there. So July 14th is my target date for you.
Great.
Thank you very much for your help on all this.
Sure.
Yes, you've been critical. So the next item on our agenda is talking about how we would like to host meetings coming up. This is a twofold. I'm kind of interested in what the county is thinking as far as allowing meetings, commission meetings, and then if the commission would feel comfortable hosting a meeting given the county approval, or if we want to stick to Zoom.
This is Patty, and I'm not in favor of meeting in person until we start to see numbers drop. And I am currently on a 1 year, or basically it's now 10 months hiatus from going to my office in Ukiah. So I'd kind of like to adhere to a Zoom schedule, at least until we feel we can have unanimity about meeting in person.
I would say from the county standpoint, until the health officer has released meetings in person, we could not condone an in-person meeting, and so we would suggest Zoom for future meetings until that health order is lifted. But we will gladly host your meetings, and we will set them up even once you have selected a secretary in the future. We will still help you host these Zoom meetings to continue until those health orders are lifted.
That's great. Thank you.
I
Yeah,
think that's great. I'm very
like
grateful.
Yes. And for that, I need my rock star staff, Caitlin, which is
Zoom
why,
thing works.
Caitlin here who's hiding and not commenting,
Hi.
which is why I suggest at this time only going one meeting in advance. Normally, I know Fish and Game, we've set a whole calendar for the year, but I think it's just too unknown. So if we could pick one future meeting date from now that everyone can kind of check their calendar, that would be great for us.
Great. So usually we've met on a bi-monthly basis, so every other month. And if this isn't going to go to the Board of Supervisors until
July 14th.
14th,
Yeah.
July 14th, then I would suggest we would have a meeting towards the end of July to get the update on
That sounds appropriate.
kind of what, the board has said and where we want to go. So does anyone have a suggestion on July dates? I can pick one out of the blue.
I have a question, Anna. This is Patty. Are we by charter or by our bylaws required to meet every other month?
I didn't look
I'm
at
not entirely sure. I think it was in our bylaws that we meet bi-monthly.
Technically, I think it's also the second Tuesday of the month.
I
but
know.
3 commissioners can call a special meeting, and so we can just continue to call them special meetings as you agree to pick a different day.
Okay.
So here's my suggestion: is if we're going to still stick to our bi-monthly meetings, that we try to hold our meetings for no more than an hour when we do have them, because the Zoom technology is kind of exhausting. And if we do have the opportunity to have public input, we can figure out whether we want to set aside time for that on our agenda for people who want to participate or who want to be like guest speakers and things like that. But I suggest we try to keep our meetings, if they're on Zoom, to an hour.
Yeah, I agree, Patty.
Sounds good. I do have a question about public comments. So this was a while ago, even before when Beth was still here, I moved it on to her that a member of the public had asked me to bring something to the commission. Is that okay? I mean, would I bring that to our commission during public comment? Is that correct? And since we missed that time, so I'll just wait for next public comment and then, or should I put it on as an agenda item, or what's the best protocol?
This is Patty, and Randy and Anna, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can bring it as a commissioner, even if it's one of your constituents, somebody you're bringing something forward. I mean, I don't hardly ever bring my own issues forward. Like, I got sudden oak death, guys. I don't like burden you with that. But I could talk to you about what maybe my community or what my colleagues are concerned about. So I think to me, it's appropriate. So I'd like to hear from other people.
Wonderful. Okay. And then Caitlin, if it were to be on the next meeting, I would send you the agenda item, or what do you do? What's our protocol for
You
staff?
can send it to both me and to Adrian.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it
I'm
depends a
excited. I
lot.
just want to say, yeah.
the nature of the comment. If it's just a simple comment, then you could just probably bring it up during public comment. But if it's something that incites a bit of a conversation, then I would put it as an agenda item.
Sounds great. Right. Totally right. Is it a comment or is it got it? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So are there any days of the week that work better for all of you to participate in a Zoom?
It's all same to me.
This is Patty. I have a standing
Me
meeting.
too.
I have a standing meeting on Thursdays from 2 to 4. So Thursdays are not good for me if we're going to continue to have it at 3 in the afternoon.
Thursdays aren't great for us either. We have 5 different meetings that we have to Zoom also on Thursdays. Wednesdays tend to be our lightest Zoom date for other meetings that were on this account. So if Wednesdays are okay with all of you, how's July 22nd? It's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Good.
Great. Great.
Good.
Do we like the 3 o'clock? Since it's a special meeting, we can pick a time. Afternoon's probably better for everyone. You have an appointment in the morning probably. But we could start.
I like the afternoon when it's hot outside
Yeah.
and have a meeting when it's
So you can
hot
hide
out.
inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll keep it at 3 then, just so there's some consistency in our special meetings. But we'll start one for July 22nd at 3. And this will be follow-up from what I find out at the board meeting. And any other agenda items that you as commissioners would like to bring forward, send us for that meeting.
Fabulous.
Great. Do we want to move on to commissioner comments before?
This is Patty. If you are doing commissioner comments, I'm not sure when our reappointments need to happen. So if we could check into that and let everybody know. I know, Randy, you were down for a while, and I feel like I've been out of it for a long time. So if it's a 2-year appointment, it's probably time for me to check in with Ted Williams.
We can email clerk of the board and see what the rosters are and the dates. Those come through their office before they get to us. So
Excellent.
we can check those appointments and we'll email you statuses.
Yeah. Okay. And just to let everybody know, I filled out my Form 700.
Good job. Those fines are brutal.
I need to do that. Thank you for reminding me.
Can you hear me, Patty?
Yeah.
This Randy, you're good till 2023. I have a file I'll pass on to Anna with all of that information.
Okay.
And Pat Ford's good until 2021. Mike, I think he's gone though. And Anna's good until July 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And Tracy's good until 2023 as well.
So Pat moved. Does he still get to be on the commission even though he lives in Oregon now?
No, and I reached out to Pat, and he thought he had sent in a letter of resignation. And I said, "How we did not receive it." So, it shows here that Pat was the first district, so we may have an open commissioner seat for the first district.
Okay, good to know. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
I'll share this stuff with you. We can get together face to face at some point. I'll share my little file I have with all my bylaws and stuff in it for you. Okay.
Sounds good. So in terms of the Form 700, Anna, or anybody else who hasn't sent theirs in, I think what you can say, because to avoid the fine, so Adrian, you can tell me if I'm right with this rationale. There has been no Fish and Game Commission. And so I would use the rationale that because of the Fish and Game Commission being down, no secretary, COVID, all of the above, that you are asking for a reprieve from the fine, because I don't feel like, it's not like we've been making any decisions that we'd have a conflict of interest on.
Yeah, and you can tell them the county buildings have also been closed, so you couldn't enter to drop it off, and that's one of those forms that they like, in-person receipts.
Yeah.
They should take it without, as long as you file, they should take it without a fine, regardless of the year.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Something
So
here
you
on
guys,
this Form 700.
what is this Form 700? I don't have a Form 700. I'm totally like, I don't understand what's going on.
It's
So
a
it's
statement
a-
of, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, it's the statement of economic interests. And if you just Google Form 700 California, it'll pop up right away. And it's just
Okay.
pretty much ensuring that we're not taking money or we're not receiving any pay to do this.
Oh, so we download it from just regular.
Yeah, it's a standard form. I think I might even have if anybody wants to email me, I can send you it. The other thing is that make sure that you don't have a conflict of interest with any decision that the Fish and Game Commission would be having. So like if you own property where a gravel plant was being put in and we were being asked as commissioners to weigh in, it's just a check and balance system to prevent self-dealing, basically, I think.
But you can love wildlife all you want. That's not a conflict of interest.
Nope.
For sure. Right. Yeah. Good.
Oh no, Tracy.
The other thing,
You're too crazy. No. You're too wild.
Man.
I believe we're also required to do ethics training, like maybe every other year. And then there was one other thing that
It's usually ethics and Brown Act combined together.
Brown
every 2
Act,
years.
that's right. And maybe one
Yeah.
of our meetings we could do a training.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. We usually go through
Oh.
county council,
Yes.
so I would check their schedule and see when Matt could do a training for us.
Yeah, that'd be great. Because if we can just, nip it in the bud and do it through Zoom, that would be great.
That
Might put you to
would
sleep on
be
Zoom.
great.
I fall asleep anyways. All right, great. Well, yeah, thanks for the reminder on that, Patty. It's something that always slips my brain. Does
Oh, me
anybody else
too.
have commissioner comments?
No, just congratulations, Anna, on your chair position, and as always, don't ever hesitate to reach out to me anytime you need some advice, or I can help you in any way.
Super
Thanks.
appreciative of you guys. Thank you so much.
Big shoes to fill.
You can do it.
I don't know about that.
Do it.
All right, cool. I do have quick commissioner reports. We're slowly starting a gear recovery program for crab gear in Noyo Port, which is exciting, with the Nature Conservancy to start moving the derelict fishing gear out of the ocean. As we kind of know, the derelict gear is the main one that entangles whales. So there's a big push with the Department of Fish and Wildlife in conjunction with the Nature Conservancy to pull that out. And we're excited to get that rolling in Noyo and on the North Coast. So that's my report.
That's exciting.
Tracy,
Yes, Miss Patty?
do you have a report for us?
Well, not really. I
Do you wanna-
mean, I
Do you want to come rescue some deer? I have $5 in my yard that the neighbor is feeding. And I think they're just going to try to pick them off as soon as deer season starts. So if you want to come rescue the lame buck that beds down in my front
Lame
yard.
buck?
Yeah, a lame
We-
buck.
Can't rescue full deer, Miss Patty.
Oh, darn.
I know.
Just fawns?
But is it really a lame buck?
Yep.
Wow, there's a I think you can call DFW. Well, there's Yeah, I'll write you.
Yeah, write me. So
Okay.
my update is that, you know, just through the Resource Conservation District where I work, that we've been sort of working on large wood projects for Salmon and Steelhead in the Navarro. We have one going in on Mill Creek and one going in on North Fork Navarro, which is going to be a whole tree. We actually push the tree over, and
Awesome.
then we do some hardware anchoring in order to make them stay where they need to stay. But the whole tree idea is to keep the root wad on the bottom of the tree to help anchor. And we are doing a lot of flow enhancement work in Mill Creek, including a coordinated timing of diversion so that people who legally can pump or who have wells that are connected to the stream will be on a schedule. And we're going to try it out and see if that can help enhance flows, because the mouth of the Navarro right now is closed. So hopefully the smolts got out this year. We're seeing a lot of young of the year. And that's the fish report.
Thanks, Patty. That's exciting.
Awesome.
Randy, what do you have for us?
It's been pretty quiet.
That too.
I like your horse, Randy.
Hey,
Yeah, you look good,
that's
Randy.
Hank.
Cool.
There's been, you guys have probably heard there's some people in Laytonville, we've been having bear issues, and since there's no fish, wildlife services anymore, so just been writing some articles on, aversion techniques, and it would be, just trying to we could do some education or something like that on how to be more wildlife friendly, but
Great.
yeah, wildlife's creeping in, guys.
All right, great. Well, if that's all we have, we'll meet back on July 22nd at 3. And hopefully we'll have an update about the secretary position. And hopefully we can get Red Hawk back on, and then Commissioner Ford as well. And maybe reach out to some folks and see. There used to be like a stack of applications, Randy. Do you remember that? So we can find someone to fill our open seat.
Yeah, they keep them on file there in the clerk's office, I believe, or in the supervisor's office, and they usually have a list of applications still. Where I fouled up one time, you just have to make sure that it's an actual current application and not an older application.
Yeah.
Who's going to send out the Zoom notice? Is that you, Caitlin?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sending that. I was kind of panicking. I go, I don't have the Zoom number.
Yes, I was having some technical difficulties with
I get it.
There's so much
Zoom
technology.
today.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
my pleasure.
Thank you, County, so much for making this happen. It's huge.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Adrian. I know fishing game isn't always the most exciting topic, but important.
Well, I love wildlife, so,
Good.
anything
So
we
do
can
we.
do.
Great.
That's
Yeah.
Keeping it real.
And then so let us know as we move on if you have little website updates. I know I was talking to Beth, totally unrelated to this, but she volunteered to come back and help in her downtime. We can do little website edits for you here and there if you want to email us some stuff. Caitlin is also my website guru, so she will help us there too.
Great.
great.
Excellent. Are you looking for like wildlife pictures and stuff and things for the that type of stuff, or what are you looking for it?
I don't think it's been updated since the last grant cycle. I want to say like 17, 18 maybe might even still be on the website. So we kind of just need to look at what should be current, since that's about 3 years ago.
So this is Patty. Before we
Okay.
close, does anybody have an update on whether we've replenished our cache of funds that we can give out as grants, or are we kind of treading water for a while still?
The last time I talked to the tax collector, we had not been taking in that many collections. I also believe that there's only one fish and game officer in the area that's writing fines. Penalties have just been barely streaking in. I don't know that we've even gotten $5,000 in fines since, I think I met Red Hawk about the collection, maybe with Anna. I think there was two of us when we talked about collections, and that's been about 2 years probably. But the fines and penalties have drastically declined, and our assumption was the lack of officers in the area and game wardens to write those fines. I can find you an account balance. I don't
I have.
think it's gotten high.
I keep in contact with Captain Fish and Wildlife, and he's assigned to the north sector, which is northern Mendocino County. And according to the wardens, when I bump into them from time to time, a lot of their cases due to this COVID-19 crisis are on the back shelf in the DA's office. So I think once they get things back up and rolling, I know there was an excess of like 20 or 25 pretty good cases they talked like that they put in for prosecution. So I'm thinking maybe, once things get back to somewhat normal, we may see some fine revenue from that as well.
Well, that would be good. I know the courts have opened for some minor processing of cases, but it's usually, on a table like this where you have your attorney on one side and their client on the other. So they are starting to pull in some minor cases again. So let's hope.
So I guess, Anna, my suggestion would be that we do everything we need to do in terms of our ethics training, our Brown Act training, and then we really say, okay, until we have enough money to actually run a grant program, what do we want to focus on? Kind of just like a mini strategic plan. Like, what are our ideas? Maybe we can partner with some folks, and provide some support to other organizations that actually do have money. But by partnering, maybe we can extend our influence a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Patty. Try to see who's doing what and what they're doing and where we can fit into it. So we're not running the grant process on our own, but bolstering into a project.
Yeah, I don't know where cannabis fits in, but I'm currently like the cannabis lead in my office. So I'm reaching out to the cannabis community in terms of best management practices for cannabis cultivation. And I have a video, and I have materials in English and in Spanish, like I've shared with the commissioners before. So I'm still doing that. And I don't know how relevant it is for our commission, but it is important public outreach that we can work with the county on.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a question about that too, you guys, working with county and cannabis. So where are we? Like when county wants to go and open up everything again, the wildlands and stuff, and are we involved with that at all? Is there anything, is that too political of an opinion with the watershed situation or anything like that? Do we stand, or do we do nothing, or is that just a
Well, I think we could write a
activist
letter,
situation?
if we have an opinion. I mean, I think that since we are part of the county, that we should see what the county's, what their questions are, what their decisions are. And I think we can weigh in, correct me if I'm wrong, Adrian, that we can make recommendations to the board. It's just that we can't actively, oppose the county. If we can just, I think what we are is we are, able to provide an opinion or lend our support or give them some recommendations.
Absolutely. An important meeting for cannabis will be on June 10th. The board will be taking direction on the Phase 3 ordinance. We have no idea what direction that will be. All we know is something is coming out on June 10th related to cannabis. So that would be a good meeting to watch. It'll be on Zoom, it'll be streamed on YouTube also. And since that will be before your next meeting, you could kind of take stock of what the board is doing and recommending in their actions. But I will say one of the most vivid presentations I ever saw was from Greg Giusti. Before all this cannabis cultivation became legal, and the video and PowerPoint that he brought about cannabis degradation in the environment was terrible.
Yes.
I don't know if he still has a copy, I'm sure he does, but that would be a great thing to have for this commission, I believe.
Yeah, we had a presentation. I can't remember. I know it was up in Willits, and it was a former employee of CAL FIRE had done a really good job of educating the commission about what some of the bad actors were doing out there.
I think that was Jeanette Patterson that did that one.
Yes, that was. Exactly.
Yeah, I like Jeanette.
With the roads.
Yeah, and the mountains falling down and the heavy equipment getting stuck and just awful stuff.
The illegal ponds built and stuff, and there was she had a lot of good information, and I think it was some actual cases that she'd worked when she was law enforcement for CAL FIRE, so she did a good job. She was one of the good ones out.
Well, the thing that the last Board of Supervisors meeting I went to was where they were talking about opening up rangeland, and I get that, like, for our legacy growers. I mean, like, as you guys know, I am a small, tiny cannabis farmer myself, and so I get it. If they open up the rangeland, and the ordinance is now, like, what I've heard is we can't get our state license because of the CEQA that we have going on. Our ordinance was supposed to be our CEQA. And then they kept changing it, and I don't know enough of the logistics to come to the table educated in what all is going on between our county and state. But that keeping rangeland and TPZ and forest land closed for cannabis cultivation is part of our CEQA agreement. So and it protects wildlife, and it protects those fragile watersheds up there. And Patty, I thought about you so much because nobody knew how many headwaters we had at that meeting. And I did because of Patty, because of Patricia Hickey. And it was awesome. It was like we have 14 headwaters and 11 of them are in danger right now. And so we just don't have literally the resources to be in alignment with state. They want to, anyway. So I think to go deeper with that subject.
I think everybody as individuals is free to comment at a board meeting if we wanted to do that. But I think as a meeting, I mean, as a group, this wasn't agendized, so I don't think we can comment as a group. But I would encourage people.
Well, you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I don't mean about this discussion now. I just mean weighing in. If the Board of Supervisors is going to be making a direction on cannabis, and was it June 10th?
Yes, June 10th.
So what you guys can do is you can call your supervisor and weigh in, is what you can do. And I really encourage you to do that. I personally feel the way Tracy does. I feel like this is opening up a can of worms. I don't think there's the water. I think that there's no roads out there in a lot of the rangeland. And I think carving up rangeland in terms of wildlife value is a super bad idea. It's a personal opinion, and I'm not sure if it's shared by other people, but I just encourage people to do what they think is right. And then we can weigh in and put it on our agenda for next time. And if we want to write a letter, we sign on to it as a recommendation to the board, then we can do that.
Yeah, like I said, I have no idea what they'll come with. I know that Supervisor McCowan and Supervisor Hashek, I believe, are both sponsoring items related to cannabis on that date.
Yeah.
But the board agendas are only published 72 hours in advance, so we won't see many details until Friday or Monday, honestly, for that agenda. So keep track if you guys want to fill out one of the telecomment forms or talk to your board members ahead of time so you can weigh in on that personally, and then we can add that after the meeting. If you email us and want something on the agenda, let us know and we'll put it on July.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, anything else?
Well, I'm just glad we're back together, guys, even though it's like
Yay.
zoomy.
I'll try to work on my
Yes,
camera.
I'm actually
Me too. I don't know why
I'm
it just says my name. I don't
pretty
understand it.
impressed. I'm actually pretty impressed with the Zoom program here. I usually have really bad luck with this stuff, and it's working quite well for me. So thanks, Tracy, for getting me hooked up.
Oh, Randy. So great. This is good. Well, hopefully next time everyone will be here.
We have a hope.
Thanks, Caitlin and Adrian for helping facilitate. It's really very helpful.
No problem. We'll be
That's
here
huge.
next time.
All right.
Great. Thank you so much, guys.
Meeting adjourned?
Thank you.
Bye.
Sure.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned. All right, we'll close you at 3:50.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Mhm.